Can the Elder Scrolls Online appeal to Skyrim fans without alienating hardcore MMO players? I'm Dan Dawkins for CBG, and that's the question I'll be discussing with Chris Thurston, Deputy Editor of PC Gamer.
Hi.
Who's been playing the first part of the recent Elder Scrolls Online beta trial on PC. Now Chris, can you tell us briefly what you've played of the Elder Scrolls Online, and like roughly how much of it you've played?
In this beta, I've played about 10 hours or so as the Ebonhert faction, which is the faction that does the Nords, so with Skyrim and stuff from the previous game. Previously, at other events, and when I've seen the game before, I've played a bunch of the Daggerfall Covenant faction, which is territories like Daggerfall that haven't been in the series since the game Daggerfall, which was a long time ago now.
How will Skyrim fans find Elder Scrolls Online?
That's a difficult question, and it's something that the game is going to struggle with because there are a lot of different types of Skyrim fans, and one of the reasons that Skyrim was as popular as it was is people found ways of playing it that suited them. They didn't necessarily have to follow the lines laid out for them by Bethesda. They didn't even need to follow necessarily the things that were in the game itself, because that game had a lively modding scene post-launch that's still strong. And for that reason, I think there'll be a lot of people who come to Elder Scrolls Online and whose first experience of it will be things they expect to be able to do that they can't do. This is an MMO, and as an MMO, you know, edges have to be sanded off, things have to be changed, gameplay systems need to be altered to account for the fact that there's lots of players in the same world. That said, it does look like Skyrim, at least from an interface point of view, in the very basic way in which you interact with the world. You can play in first person, which is unusual for an MMO, in a properly realised first person where your character has hands as opposed to just being a position of the camera. That said, it is under the hood an MMO. The combat is, you know, about quick bar rotations and a lot of flanking and rotating and strafing around, which might feel unlike Skyrim to someone who's played a lot of it. Likewise, if you're the guy who played Skyrim and sacked off the main quest and just ran off to go and nick things or hoard cabbages or kill everyone in a village, that's really not what this game is. It gives you some freedom to choose which quests you do, and some quests will introduce ideas like stealing things, but it's only when the game allows you to do it. For the most part, it really wants you to stick to this main, quite linear quest that your character is on from the beginning.
Now, coming at it from a traditional MMO player's perspective, how will they find the Elder Scrolls Online?
I think a few things are immediately different, and that's quite refreshing, in that, you know, first person, again, is something that you probably haven't seen much of in an MMO. Likewise, there's I guess a fidelity to the amount of characters that you can talk to, for example, and the depths that those conversations go to that is unusual. However, those conversations themselves are not groundbreaking in terms of being, you know, narratives you haven't heard before, or even particularly well acted most of the time. In my experience, it is like Skyrim, actually, quite poorly acted most of the time. So there's that. There's also, I guess, sort of the notion that it's quite substantially single player in the amount I've played. A lot of MMOs, you know, towards the end of your first zone or whatever, they'll, you know, lock off some area, they'll throw down a group quest or something that you need to gather up for. In the hours and hours I've played of it, I've never had any forced grouping at all, which might resonate with some people who do just want to quietly get on with their MMO in the background, but whether or not that means the game is fully taking advantage of what it means to have lots of players or not, I can't, at this stage, it's hard to say.
And certainly in the beta you weren't like forced into any huge group scenarios or...
Not at all. In fact, they very rarely saw other players, but obviously full caveat, this is a closed beta that not very many people have access to, so there's that.
Of course. Now, for sort of an idiot console Skyrim player like me, one of my concerns is how are the graphics? So, you know, how are the visuals?
Right, so if you played Skyrim on PC, where not only the game looked, you know, pretty good out of the box, but over the years since it's been released, the community has made it look 10 times better. It's nowhere near. It's absolutely miles away, because it really can't be as an MMO. And that's, I don't want to actually excuse that too much, but understandably people's expectations will have been set by a game with a completely different engine, with a completely different set of technologies underneath it. If you came from a console point of view, then it'll be, Elder Scrolls Online won't look as good as Skyrim. I think even on next gen, it's not going to compare ultimately, and that's partly graphics and shaders and lighting, and that's partly just the fidelity of animations and things like that. But the comparison will be closer, but not quite.
But broadly from the same universe.
It's recognised, like, in terms of design, yeah, they've worked very hard to recognisably recreate the styles of architecture and the kinds of like landscapes you're looking at. I guess the comparison I'd make is it can feel a little bit like if Skyrim was like visiting someone's house, then this is a bit like visiting a model home. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's not quite as furnished, and it doesn't have the same sense of being lived in or whatever. But it does a decent enough job of giving the impressions of those places.
Now the big question is this model home worth the price that they're charging? Because you're going to have to buy this game as like a retail or digital product, and then sign up for a £9 a month or $8.99 a month fee. Is that worthwhile based on what you've seen? We have to caveat it with it is a beta.
Really tough, because I suspect that given that it's so single player accessible, a bunch of people will buy it full price, play it for a month, and not bother subscribing. Whether that bodes well for the future of the game or not, I can't say. Instinctively, I'd be very wary, because traditionally with MMOs, developers can promise a certain delivery of new stuff to do that justifies a subscription fee over time, but there's until the game's been out for a few months and that's been proven to be the case, it's impossible to recommend on that basis just on a promise alone. There's certainly a lot of Tamriel, the world map, that they haven't done for launch of the game. It's probably about a third. It'd be what you get when the game starts. So there's plenty of places for them to expand it and to put that subscription money towards making the game better. But it seems like quite a big ask for the early adopters, for the people to be the people who to bear the brunt of that. A tricky one. I would say if you were a dedicated Skyrim fan and you're looking for Skyrim 2 and you're expecting your 40 quid to go and get you that, be wary. It's not that game. If you're interested in another sort of RPG MMO that's quite accessible to single player, then you'll probably, hopefully, get a month's worth out of it. But that subscription fee is a big question the game has to answer, especially when, especially when Skyrim exists, that costs probably less than a subscription fee now, and is you get everything for that. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you've got MMOs like Guild Wars 2, for example, that doesn't even have a subscription fee, and it's bigger.
Well, I'm still on the fence.
Yep.
We'll wait to see it as it gets closer towards the game coming out. Now, do check out computerandvideogames.com for an Elder Scrolls Online diary, and do check out PCGamer.com for an in-depth Elder Scrolls preview written by yourself.
Written by Phil Savage.
By Phil Savage. And if you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe by clicking the subscribe button for more great Elder Scrolls videos right up before launch.